What happens when one of Britain's most beloved comic actors walks off a live morning show after a conversation takes an unexpected turn? The tension in the studio was thick, and what started as a friendly chat about comedy and career highlights quickly turned into something no one could have predicted. Before we get into what went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment telling us what you think about the whole situation. Now let's dive into how this interview went from lighthearted banter to a full-on meltdown. The morning began like any other episode. Jenna greeted viewers with her usual cheerful tone, and her co-hosts were ready to chat with Rowan Atkinson, the legendary actor famous for his sharp wit and unmatched physical comedy. The audience buzzed with excitement, eager to hear stories from a man who had shaped British humor for decades. Jenna kicked things off with a big smile. "Welcome, welcome. It's such an honor to have you here. We've been looking forward to this for weeks. Your work has brought so much laughter to so many people." Rowan smiled politely, settling into his seat. "Thank you for having me. It's always nice to talk about the craft. Though I do hope we can have a real conversation about comedy rather than just the usual surface-level stuff." Marcus, one of the co-hosts, laughed. "Oh, absolutely. We want to go deep. We want to know everything. Your process, your inspirations, all of it." Rowan nodded. "Good, because comedy is much more complex than people give it credit for. It's not just about making faces or falling over. There's real thought behind it, a certain precision." Jenna leaned forward eagerly. "Exactly. That's something we see in all your work. The timing, the physicality, it's like watching a master class every time." For a while, the conversation flowed easily. They talked about his approach to building characters, how he creates a comedic persona, and the importance of silence in humor. Rowan seemed relaxed, even passionate, sharing insights that kept the audience completely hooked. Then Jenna shifted the topic. "We have to talk about how comedy has changed over the years. The landscape is so different now, with social media, cancel culture, and all that. How do you navigate that as someone who's been in the industry so long?" Rowan paused, his expression turning serious. "Well, that's quite a loaded question, isn't it? The truth is, comedy has always been about pushing limits. That's what it's meant to do. The problem now is that people have forgotten that being offended isn't the same as being harmed." Marcus jumped in. "But don't you think comedians have a duty to be aware of how their jokes affect people, especially certain communities?" Rowan's tone sharpened slightly. "Aware, yes. Controlled, no. There's a huge difference between being thoughtful and being scared to speak. Comedy dies when every word, every movement, every interpretation is policed." Jenna nodded, but Simone, another co-host, spoke next. "I hear what you're saying. But surely you understand why some people feel that certain types of humor reinforce stereotypes or cause harm, especially to marginalized groups." Rowan leaned back, his jaw tightening. "Here we go. This is the issue. People are confusing jokes with prejudice. A joke isn't a policy or a manifesto. It's an exploration of human absurdity. When you start treating comedy like social engineering, you strip away what makes it valuable." The air in the studio grew tense. What had been a friendly talk now felt like a debate. Jenna tried to ease things. "I think what Simone means is that comedy can be powerful. And with power comes some responsibility, right?" Rowan leaned forward. "Responsibility to whom?" "To the audience, yes, I agree. My job is to make them think, make them laugh, hold up a mirror to society. But my job is not to make everyone comfortable. Comedy has never been about comfort." Marcus spoke up. "But when you say hold up a mirror, whose reflection is that mirror showing? Not everyone sees themselves in the comedy that's made, especially historically." Rowan's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting comedy should be some kind of equal opportunity program? That we should tick boxes to make sure everyone's represented? Art doesn't work that way. Comedy doesn't work that way." Simone shook her head. "That's not what we're saying. We're saying the industry has been dominated by certain voices for a long time, and maybe it's time to make room for others." Rowan's voice rose slightly. "Make room? I've never stopped anyone from being funny. I've never blocked anyone's path. But I won't apologize for being successful or for creating work that connected with millions." The idea that comedy should be diversified, like it's some sort of social service, is ridiculous. Jenna raised her hands calmly. Okay, I think we're all trying to have an honest talk here about how the industry is changing. Rowan cut her off. Changing or collapsing? Because from where I sit, it looks like creativity is being strangled by fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of social media mobs. Fear of outrage committees. Marcus frowned. Social media mobs? Isn't that a bit dramatic? People are just asking for accountability. They're asking comedians to think about their impact. Rowan gave a dry laugh. Accountability? You mean submission? You mean bowing to whoever shouts the loudest online? That's not accountability, that's mob rule disguised as progress. Simone flushed. That's incredibly dismissive. When someone says a joke hurt them, that's not mob rule. That's their lived experience. Rowan looked directly at her. And when an artist says a joke was meant to satirize or provoke thought, that's also lived experience. Why does one always outweigh the other? Why does the offended party automatically get moral authority? Jenna jumped in. I think what we're circling is intent versus impact. Can we agree that both matter? Rowan shook his head. Intent matters most. If you ignore intent, everything becomes about feelings. And feelings change. They're subjective. Comedy can't survive in that world, Marcus countered. But impact is real. If a joke reinforces a harmful stereotype, intent doesn't erase that. Rowan's voice turned cold. Show me the actual damage caused by a joke. Not hurt feelings, real damage. Actions cause harm. Policies cause harm. Violence causes harm. Jokes don't. Simone shook her head. Words have power. They shape how we see the world. Jokes can normalize prejudice and make hate seem acceptable. Rowan sat up straight. Or they can expose prejudice by mocking it. Satire makes ignorance look stupid. It's always been a weapon against tyranny. But now we're told jokes are dangerous? That's absurd. Jenna tried again. No one's saying all jokes are bad. We're talking about those that punch down. Rowan groaned. Punch up, punch down. These are empty buzzwords. Comedy punches in all directions. The moment you make certain groups off limits, you create inequality. Marcus raised his voice. So no limits at all? Anything goes? Rowan met his gaze. The only limit is whether it's funny. Not whether it's kind or politically approved, but whether it makes people laugh. Simone looked shocked. So if something makes people laugh, it's automatically okay? Even if it's racist or sexist? Rowan exhaled sharply. You're twisting it. A joke that explores racism isn't racist. A joke that mocks sexism isn't sexist. People refuse to tell the difference anymore. Jenna said softly, Can we at least agree that context matters? Rowan nodded. Yes, but who decides what context is acceptable? Because right now it feels like anyone with a Twitter account decides that. Marcus shook his head. That's not fair. There are real talks happening about representation and who gets to tell which stories. Rowan's patience was fading. And those talks have become suffocating. Every creative decision is filtered through fear. Fear of backlash, fear of cancellation. That's not art, that's anxiety. Simone leaned in. Maybe a little fear is good? Maybe it makes people think before saying something hurtful. Rowan's tone dropped. Or maybe it makes them say nothing at all. Maybe it kills comedy entirely. Do you want a world where every joke is sanitized until it means nothing? Jenna raised her hands. We're getting heated here. Let's take a breath. Rowan turned to her. A different angle? You mean the angle where I pretend to agree with all this nonsense about reforming comedy? Where I sit here nodding like a schoolboy being lectured about inclusivity. Marcus's voice hardened. Nobody's lecturing you. Rowan gave a bitter laugh. This isn't a discussion. It's an interrogation. I came here to talk about comedy, not to defend its right to exist. Simone shot back. You made it confrontational. We asked reasonable questions. Rowan stood slightly. Reasonable? You've been ganging up on me with every trendy talking point about offense and accountability. Do you even hear yourselves? Jenna's tone grew serious. Rowan, no one's attacking you. We're just talking about how comedy fits in today's world. Rowan sat but stayed tense. Today's world. That phrase means nothing. Comedy has always lived in its time. Every great comedian faced people saying they went too far. The difference now is those people run the platforms. Marcus jumped in. You're one of the most famous comedians alive. Talking about being silenced seems ironic. Rowan's eyes flashed. Success doesn't equal control. I might have a career, but I don't control the culture. People like me are constantly told we're outdated, that we should move aside. Sim,